We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break. What's that step coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NUFC Matters, the Joe Allon show on this Wednesday budget-ridden afternoon. Hi, Joe.
Good afternoon, Steve.
Good to see you, mate. And gives the viewers an opportunity to get themselves away from the news. It's only going to be disappointing. Don't get too excited. And for us to look back again at the Chelsea game at the weekend and look forward to tonight's game in the Carabao Cup, which could see Newcastle find their place in the last 8 of the competition. But let's look back on the game at the weekend first and foremost, Joe. I mean, I was down there myself, down at your old stamping ground, Stamford Bridge, for the Joe Allon derby. And I've got to be honest, I mean, it shows you that when you're at a game, you see something completely different to what people watch on TV. I think we all know that. But it was, it was close on paper. 51% possession for Chelsea, 49% possession for Newcastle. XG, sick of hearing those two letters, but XG for Newcastle was actually better for Newcastle than Chelsea. But let's face it, Joe, all it really matters is what the final score was. It was Chelsea 2, Newcastle 1. Jackson and Palmer for Chelsea. Isaac getting the consolation, as it turned out, for Newcastle. But what did you make of the game?
Well, you just mentioned the 3 goal scorers. I mentioned the 3 goal scorers, and they're both top scorers at their club. The 2 players you've got to look out for. And obviously Isaac, he scored 2. So I don't care if they're going in from 3 inches or 30 yards, he's scoring goals for me. So that'll do me. The fact was, the difference between the 2 teams is how we probably started the first half and the second half, Steve. That's where we lost the game, And in Palmer, they've got a player that, well, apart from this week, I suppose, you don't face every week. Thank the Lord. I hope he's not playing tonight, because this lad's a great player, and he's made this pass for the opening goal. There's probably a few players in the world could have made that pass, It was a match-winning pass. And people didn't point out, like, it has to be the player that's on the end of the pass that makes it look that good as well. And it was just like a knife through butter, carved us apart for their first goal. But we started slack in, like I say, both halves, and coming out in the second half as well. Very lackadaisical to concede so early, you know, and it gives you a mountain to climb. You know, we're talking about Chelsea will always give you the chance and that, and I thought that, and I did think we'd score. But at the same time, you know, you kind of give them soft goals. And I've got to say, Nick Pope's going to be disappointed with that goal, the second goal. I promise he struck it clean, I would say. But I mean, for me, Pope's got his feet all wrong. He's got his positional sense wrong. People have said for years, didn't get beat on your near post. As a forward, just didn't get beat. If you're a goalkeeper, like, you get paid to stop them. And he'd be disappointed to let that one in, you know. So, yes, you're saying on paper, you know, that, you know, we've getting beat 2-1, and that's the truth. Possession-wise, again, I'm not having that possession stuff anymore, because you've hit the nail on the head, Steve. 2-1, we lost. You were at the game. We're hearing grumblings about the crowd, which I'm sure we'll come to, but the atmosphere, me watching it on the box, at times, it seemed very, very dead in the ground. All I could hear was Newcastle supporters singing. You know, and I mean, I've played there before, on a different ground totally to watch the old Stamford Bridge was, because the shed was a million miles away from the pitch. But you know, it seemed it was a dead atmosphere for a lot of the times, and you know, it was a game that, you know, should we have come out as some. You tell me, you were live at the game. You probably see a much more honest opinion of the game when you're watching it live.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely felt Newcastle were on the cusp from the opening couple of minutes, and you know, the disallowed goal that Palmer had, yeah, you know, it was rightly disallowed, but all that we saw from my position behind the goal was just swarms and swarms of Chelsea coming forward, Newcastle getting overrun in midfield, and the centre halves getting pulled out of position. So Dan Burn and Fabian Schär were getting a lot of stick from people, you know, but ultimately, you know, I felt the midfield were to blame. I didn't think the midfield did their job at all. And you know, you could have taken any one of Tonali, Bruno, or Joe Linton off. Joe Linton probably had the best of the game out of those three. But you know, Harvey Barnes again. We were robbed of Anthony Gordon due to injury before the game, but I felt that Harvey Barnes was, you know, ineffective. It's probably the best way to describe him. Isak again, isolated up front, did well, you know, to get his goal, and hopefully that means that, you know, he's got that particular bad run behind him, and he's going to hit the ground running again. I didn't think Tino Livramento had a particularly good game either. I mean, there was very few who could come off that pitch and say, yeah, that was a good game for me. Lewis Hall stood out, third game in a row. I know Dan Burn got a bit of stick, but I thought Dan Burn, you know, once again led by example. And Nick Pope, with the exception of the goal, the second goal, which was certainly his fault, unless, you know, even if he was unsighted, you should never get beaten at your near post, like you just said. I just felt overall it was just a bad day at the office for Newcastle. But when I came home and looked at the stats on the train, and I'm thinking, wow, you know, Newcastle were a lot closer in that game than even I thought. I get it. Some of the fans are, you know, they've put Tonali on a pedestal like they did ASM. Anyone who watches this show will know that I wasn't an Allon Maximin fan. For all the times that he got us out of our seats, you know, the end product wasn't there, and the goals tally wasn't there for a midfielder. He should be scoring 10 goals in his position. Well, look, you forgot 1 or 2 in a season from ASM, and his assists weren't as many. So Tonali going off, it didn't upset me. As I've said, Joe Linton was the best of the three. Tonali going off on 68 minutes for Longstaff. I could see a bit of the logic in how substitutions. In fact, I think it changed things for the better, because along with Longstaff, Willock and Murphy came on for Barnes and Almiron respectively. And I felt Willock changed the game. We had a bit of pace, we had a bit of impetus, we were going forward. Murphy did the same, and that was probably our best spell. 5 or 10 minutes after that, those substitutions were made. We should have gone 2-2, because Isak
didn't play the ball back to Joe Linton, who was standing unmarked in the middle, as Jackson had been for the first goal, that would have been 2-2, and who knows where we would have gone. Behind the goal, he wasn't even looking at Joe Linton. He actually was blaming Sean Longstaff for not taking the ball. Longstaff was more or less saying, "Well, that was your opportunity," So, it's funny, as I say, when you're close to the action like that, you see things differently. And catching up with it on TV the day later, nobody would have known that. But yeah, Joe Linton was unmarked and could have been the right ball, but Sean Longstaff and Isaac were having a bit of a disagreement. The other subs, no chance of Hall, not going off, without getting a bit of an applause. He deserved it. Kelly comes on, no chance for him to change the game. Neither any chance for Asula, for Joe Linton, neither. So, the other two subs were academic. But a lot of people say that the subs shouldn't have happened. They were the wrong subs. I don't agree with that at all. I just feel potentially that Newcastle, maybe need to think about the formation, Joe, because we can't continue to play 4-3-3 when it's quite clear that some of our players either aren't as effective, or maybe just aren't as comfortable. I don't know. There's something not right, and we don't seem to have that plan B, Joe, that other teams have.
I'm glad you said that about Isaac and the ball across. I got it straight away. The thing that stood out for me watching it, the Chelsea players were all running the wrong way. And if he plays the ball across the 6-yard box, I'm not joking, Joe Linton was flying. He's got the easiest tap in the world, So definitely the Longstaff thing was highlighted because it was the closest player to him. But he was never on for me, Longstaff. I agree with you on that. As regarding the midfield players, there's nobody in the world, especially me, going to doubt the ability, right, of Tonali, Bruno, and Joe Linton. I think they're outstanding footballers, outstanding individual ability. But I heard a good friend of ours this morning on TalkSport make this point, Lee Clark, the Nash, and he said the stats for them three playing together in the same team are pretty poor as regarding getting Newcastle a win. Now, you're talking about formations. We saw it with England when England overran the midfield with the 5 great players everybody was calling out to play in the Euros. The 5 of them he stuck in all at once and it didn't work. Eddie's got his standard formation, Steve, his backbone, I think he uses all the time, which is your goalkeeper, your 2 defenders, Bruno and Isaac, when fit. And after that, everybody else is flitting around that. Now, is it the, horses for courses, I would like to say. You've got to get the right blend of midfield players that complements each other. It's all right having, for me, Tonali hasn't been played in his proper position. I haven't seen him, what I have seen of him. Bearing in mind, it was a good year ago now when he's playing regularly in Italy. I want him, and I need him to play more forward. I need him in a more forward position. Whatever happens, he's got to play in the team in a more forward role, because that'll be the best that you get out of him. Nowadays, he's doing like the scapegoat work. He's not a Rodri. He's not built for that position. And nobody can fault his lack of effort. His effort is unbelievable. But at the same time, and like you say, fans are always going to get the favourite players as well. So that's just a little storm in a teacup. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I was a little bit disappointed that Eddie had to highlight it, because in a press conference, you shouldn't be saying that about a few boos on the terraces, It's the lads' favourite players. Everybody gets the favourite players. But I think what I'm getting to is Newcastle United supporters, right? And I hope they do this tonight. I've never heard them when you've got a player that runs about to get a Newcastle United supporter off the seats this time, this day and age, is off the seats. You get them off the seats, right, by putting a tackle in, and the supporters going, "Whoa, get in!" They'll do it if they see bravery. "Oh, get in!" They'll see it if your effort, right, that you're putting in 100% for the shirt. You're trying. You might be having a nightmare. You might be having a stinker. But you know what? in 50 years are going to St James's Park, and this is bred into the supporters of nowadays. I have never seen or heard a Newcastle fan, right? They call them fans because they're fanatics. I like to call Newcastle United supporters. Now, supporter is exactly what they do. They'll not give them stick. They'll never slag them off, and they'll not get on their backs for wanting that effort of all putting on a shirt and pulling together. I've never seen a Newcastle United supporter do that, you know? And that's because you've got the passion, right? The tenacity of the fans should be going out there on the park, you know? And in this game tonight, I mean, I know I'm going on a bit, but because I'm on the roll, I'm wanting this game tonight, whatever formation he plays, whatever players he comes up with, that's down to Eddie, right? But tonight, the match has got to be done at the end of 90 minutes, right? That's your last bit of football. After that's penalty kicks. So keep in the game tonight for 90 minutes. Whatever you have to do for 90 minutes, stay in the game. Don't lose the game in 90 minutes. People might say, oh, that's negative and all that. We want to play great football. No, we want to win the tie tonight to get through to the next tie. Trust us. When we get to Wembley, if we get to Wembley, right, or if we get to the next round, nobody in the world's going to remember that we went through if it goes through on penalty kicks. Nobody's going to remember that we played Nottingham Forest and got through on penalty kicks. Nobody's going to remember that we played Wimbledon from lower part of the echelons of the Football League. We got through, right? Nobody's going to remember that. What they remember is getting through to the last 8. And all about is cup competitions, is getting through to the next time. Now, if we get through tonight with 3 games, because there's 2 games, 2 legs in a semi-final, away from getting to Wembley. Eddie's got with a Wembley before. He takes this competition seriously, right? And so what I want is Eddie to play our strongest team to get us through to the next stage of this competition, but stay in the game for 90 minutes. Don't let we're coming off and saying, oh, if we might have been, if that had happened, or could have, or want to have. That's a load of holics, right? Stay in the game for 90 minutes. If we win 3-0 after 90 minutes, get in. If we're 0-0, 1-0 or 2-2, I didn't give a hoot. Get through to the penalty kicks, then win the penalty kicks and get one in the hat for the last 8.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll look ahead to that in the second half. A couple of questions and points coming in anyway. Well said, Joe. Support when we're winning, loyal when we're not, says Les. And lots of people asking about Tonali. Stephen Kennedy says, lads, seeing that Sandro Tonali has been training with the group all last season, how come it's not working? Gary jumped in and said, Stephen, I believe he's not playing in his best position. I've watched him run into space on the wings and then being ignored, especially on the right, and then gets caught out of position. He then gets caught out of position and has to run back. And Andrew says, maybe Tonali training with the group all last season didn't work either, but they still have to try him for real and competitive matches. Keith Hope mentioned a lack of pace in midfield. Maybe he needs Craig Hope, but get the gist of what he was trying to say there. Yeah, Tonali, are we getting the best out of him, Joe?
No, not at all. We're not, because I mean, honestly, I've seen this lad play in Italy, and that's how he commanded the transfer fee that he's commanded. He's played a hell of a lot of money for him, you know. And you've got to remember as well, he hasn't played for over a year consistently. The team thing, I can take his point that he's probably trained with the lads, but I bet he hasn't been trained in shadow play or in team format play and training. I don't know what he does in training. I don't know how much coaching he does, but he's not going to be using them in training that way if he's not going to be playing on a Saturday, you know. But at the end of the day, Tonali has got to be playing to his strengths and our strengths as well. And he's talking about pace in midfield. I mean, you're born with pace. You cannot make pace happen. You know, you can be better instructed on movement, and you can improve on your movement, but you can't improve on your pace. Unless you're Usain Bolt and you're getting that 0.2 of a second over 100 metres, which takes 2 to 4 years to get that off his world records. You don't get that in a game of professional football. You're either gifted by having electrifying pace. I mean, look at me. I lasted bloody 17, 18 years because I was the fastest in the box over 8 inches. I mean, read into that what you want, but you know what? That was you're just being quick as regarding movement, but pace you're blessed with, so you kind of get that pace and whatever, that electrifying pace that some of the midfielders have got in football these days. You're born with that, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe Tonali training with the group all last season didn't work, and that's true, Andrew. I think maybe we just need to find him in a different, find a different place for him. And Davey Eddie says, yes, Joe, Tonali needs pushing further forward. He'd look a much better player. He's got all the tools, but the place where he plays at the moment, it nullifies him, in my opinion. Harvey Barnes is also somebody who I guess is disappointing so far this season, and he'd probably be disappointed in his own performances. Gary says Barnes was a 90-minute player at Leicester. Why does it seem he's become an impact player with us? Because he certainly doesn't look like he should start for me. He just isn't a presser. And that was one of the things that I mentioned yesterday on the show, was that our pressing game seems to have disappeared. And no Anthony Gordon makes it more difficult. But yeah, Harvey Barnes doesn't seem to be that player that should be starting. He seems more of an impact player, Joe.
It's like the coherence you've got from the Man City team. They've set the standard out. Whoever's the personnel that's on the pitch at the same time, they should be going off that blueprint because it worked against the best team in the country, you know. Mm-hmm. And it was started by pressing from the front, defending from the front. So whoever it is, I mean, Isaac never ever fills you full of, he's going to run and chase somebody down. Another thing that gets the fans off the feet, another thing that gets them off the seats, is them closing it down and giving the want to put them under pressure. And that, believe it or not, unsettles the away team so much, because you've got the crowd going on your side. You're pressing them in areas that they're not comfortable in, you know. And Harvey Barnes, he's probably, he doesn't know what's going on because he's being used as a bit player. I totally agree with that. But when he's getting success as becoming a bit player, it's a bit like that lad at Aston Villa who used to be in the pub group, with Simon Le Bon. What's his name? Duran. No, it's a bit like him, where he's coming off the bench for Watkins and whatever and scoring, but the next week he's not starting the game. So Harvey's come on and he's made an impact a couple of times by coming off the bench and scoring straight away against Fulham, against Tottenham, I think was the other goal. But there again, Harvey Barnes is top scorer on 3 goals by being an impact player. And he hasn't come with a big transfer fee again. I mean, people keep saying, it's a stonewaller that you've got to be a £25 million player. I still am bemused by the fact that these figures, for players. And somebody said, well, we can get rid of Longstaff, we can get rid of Harvey Barnes, we can get rid of Almiron. I mean, we can get rid of how much money are we going to get for them to get the coffers opened? I mean, Christmas is coming up. I want to know about recruitment. I want to know why. Your missus gone shopping in August for Christmas shopping, so it doesn't do your head in. Why is the recruitment and everything at the club, why are they not looking in August at the end of the transfer window, at that window, looking to bring in players for the January? If you go Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve like me, you get divorced twice. It's as simple as that. Didn't go shopping on Christmas Eve, lads. Go the deal before or whatever. Didn't wait like me till the bargain's on Boxing Day.
One would imagine Mitchell will have done that, and Newcastle should be doing that. But disappointing. And PSR's effectiveness, Joe. It's as simple as that. But
you can always back in my day, you're getting a player linked with a club in the press. It used to get leaked in the press that you're looking at players. Scouts are at games watching players. You need to be making that happen, not just for the fans, the players that are at the club. They need to be looking over the shoulder and thinking, my place isn't guaranteed here because he's going to bring in such and such. He's going to get a player in my position to make you. You've got to be on your toes. You can't have It's Bruno. He's a certainty in everybody's eyes to be playing in the team when he's playing well. But has Bruno been playing well? Undoubtedly his ability. I'm not knocking Bruno, and I wouldn't drop him at the minutes. But at the same time, is he warranting starting every game, especially as captain as well? You've got to ask these questions.
Why do you think Tonali's not on the set pieces, Joe?
Well, because I think at the end of the day, Bruno runs the show, and what he says goes. I mean, I'll always say Lewis Hall, he'll get one, every flood. I mean, but what he has done when he's took the set pieces hasn't worked out in a goal, you know?
Yeah.
So it's the same players that are getting, I mean, they might ping them in the top bins 25-yarders every day in training. We don't know what goes on in training. But I'd like to see a mix-up in it. I'm sure there is ability, a lot of ability. I mean, Shaw's free kick at Chelsea at the shed end. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not having a go at him being a centre-half, and I'm not saying in the past that he's had some stingers and he can score from 25 yards. But it's a crime not to make the goalkeeper make a save, first and foremost, and get the shot on target so that it is on target. It could come back and be a ricochet, and then your forwards are going to follow in. Your midfield players are following in. Didn't put it over the top of the bar. That's the easiest thing in the world. It's the easy option, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Another question was from Stephen. What's Joe's thoughts on the young Georgian lad? Newcastle announced yesterday that they've signed the highly rated Georgian striker Vakhtang Salia from Dynamo Tbilisi, and he comes with with promise. It's probably best to say. There's a lot of talk about him. He's 17 years of age. He will join up officially on his 18th birthday, which is August 2025, and he's going to remain with Dynamo for now. Which Paul Mitchell quite rightly celebrating the fact that he's beaten off stiff competition, to bring him in, and we've signed another youngster, Joe, but it's I guess he's not going to have any first team appearances anytime soon, and I've got to be honest, I've tempered my excitement over youngsters because we've heard it all. Alfie Harrison, for example, was going to be the next big thing. He was better than Foden. Seems to be struggling at the academy level at the moment. Certainly not breaking through into the first team. What's your thoughts on that? Good to sign another youngster?
Well, you know how I stand on this, Steve. And it pulls like my hair out, the rest of me hair, your hair, whatever. It just like, why have we got an academy? I've heard that there's 3 players under 15 years of age being signed as well from other clubs. What is our academy there for?
Yeah,
the academy's there to produce a Lewis Miley. It's produce a Longstaff. You need players coming through your academy. What's the point in having it? I don't know how much they played for the Georgian boy. Yes, there was other clubs watching him, but as a 17-year-old, you've just said it. You've hit the nail on the head. He's not going to get first-team appearances. There's a young lad that scored a hat-trick, I noticed, because I'll always look at the youngsters coming through, 18-year-old, whatever, and he scored a hat-trick on at the weekend there, and then I'll look at the 23s, and I'm seeing if he's in the team. Obviously, they didn't put the teams in yet, so I haven't seen what teams went out last night. They played Mansfield, and they got beat 3-0, but I'm looking to see where's your strength, and that is also a part of recruitment as well, because you have to have a great backroom. When we were, and I'm talking lots of years ago, but if the blueprint's not broken, you didn't have to mend it. Mm-hmm. You should be starting at 40, 50 years ago, even less than that. 70 years ago, when Newcastle won the FA Youth Cup first in 1962 with the Moncurs and the Pop Robsons and what have you, it was because you had the players from within, and that's like, where's the kids nowadays going to get the chance to be playing at a level where they're going to get snapped up? Yeah. I mean, the scouting system has got to be in place where you're getting surely there's kids out there that from the age of 14 to 18, 19, there's got to be some gold dust out there. Some diamonds have to be unearthed because we're from the northeast, man. If they're getting kids from elsewhere, I heard an Ipswich player getting interviewed the other day. He had a broader accent than me, and I speak the Queen's English and all that, like. But he's playing for Ipswich. I'm thinking, how's he getting through the net? Where's he from? I'm looking up his name. I didn't know his name. He's from Newcastle. And I'm thinking, how's he slipped through the net? Where's our players coming? That really frustrates us because I want to see the youth coming through. I want to see players like a Paul Gascoigne and a Peter Beardsley not getting slipped through the net, and Alan Shearer not having to pay 15 million quid for him to bring him back to his hometown club, who he loves. This is what I want to see at the football club in the long run. But this lad now, fair enough, they've brought him in, the Georgian. You did well saying his name. Did very, very well. I've got to say that. But at the same time, like you say, He's going to be one for the future. Asuri will be looking over his head now. Asuri will be thinking, oh, there's another kid coming through. Is he going to get in the pecking order before me? When's he going to start a game? When's he going to play a game? I don't know.
Joe says, great show with Joe again, Steve. I really enjoyed Joe's banter. Thanks, Steve, for brilliant YouTube content. Thanks very much, Jules. And Rob Maltman says, I could listen to Joe all day. The man speaks a lot of sense. So thank you for your kind comments. We'll have a quick break. We'll be back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can contact them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk, email info@mrvickies.co.uk, or telephone 01768 210 102. A big thanks to our NUFC Matters fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. They are the Travel and Tourism Award winners 2024. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Contact them at their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, or telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the technical side of things. And don't forget, we are also a podcast, and you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel, you can hit the like button, which is the little thumb under each video. You can click the share button to share it to other social media, or subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button, and it is for free. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the join button, and you can join the channel for $1.99 a month to help support us. We do promote events on this channel. Derek Wright is holding his official book launch at the Tyneside Irish Centre, 15th of November. Tickets are £22, and that does include a signed book. Tickets are from newcastlelegends.com. Gold Star Promotions and Gateshead Leisure Centre are bringing Lennox Lewis to the area as part of his UK tour. You can get tickets by calling 0191 250 5066. Tickets start at £39. The Long Sands are back in aid of Dementia Matters and being supported by Lilac Lane and the Chris Norris Band. Saturday, January the 4th, 2025. Tickets £15 from newcastlelegends.com or from the Clooney box office. Peter Beardsley will be at the Tyneside Irish Centre on the 10th of January, 2025. Tickets are available from newcastlelegends.com or from Woucher. An Evening with the Entertainers takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House, the 24th of January 2025. You can buy tickets for that now from the box office 0844 249 1000 or from the website tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk. And the Magpie Lounge is now open at Gateshead Leisure Centre. 7 tokens for £99. Call 0191 250 5066 to book your tickets today. And the first of those tokens will be the 31st of January, an evening with Lee Clark. If you just want to buy tickets separately, call 0191 250 5066. And the book everyone's talking about, The Entertainers, 1992 to 1997, Kevin Keegan's Legacy, is on sale now. The book will be posted out on the 1st of December, written by Will Scott. Over 30 contributors to this book. newcastlelegends.com or Amazon to buy it today. Okay, welcome back. Question from Les. Did Joe ever have a barren spell in terms of goals, and what helped him get back to scoring, says Les?
It's funny, you know, but I can't really remember. I mean, I hear players who went like half a season and things like that, Steve. You know, it never happened to me. When I played regularly and got regular games, I'd probably, you know, my whole record, I think, is about 1 in every 2 games I played. But that was league and cup games throughout my career. And you know, a goal was a goal for me. I didn't care what cup it was, and you know, people say, you know, like Mickey Mouse cups and whatever. At the end of the day, it's a game of football, and I just loved scoring goals. The one thing I would say was because I loved it that much, was that I practiced more than probably anybody, because finishing for me wasn't a chore. Finishing me was a joy, you know, and I just loved every single time I hit the back of the net. Even when, you know, we used to do things when the great Pop Robson, who had us at Hartlepool, every afternoon I used to train with Pop Robson, and we wouldn't have a goalkeeper, you know. At times we'd have two cones in the goal, a yard from each side of the post, and then we'd have a cone swinging from the crossbar. And basically, Pop would have a bag full of balls, and he'd have an apprentice on the other side, and he'd just be crossing balls in, either for volleying, half volleying along the floor, or headering. And I had to miss the three cones. Now, I had to do that left and right 20 times off the trot. If I hit a cone, I had to come back to the start again. And the amount of times you got to 19 and then you hit the cone, and he'd make us do it again, you know. But we had it as a joke, but also because, you know what, the more you practiced, the better you got. But, you know, the more I practiced, the luckier I got. And people, managers, and I used to love it when managers in other opposition used to say, you're lucky, and you're lucky so-and-so. I used to love that, you know, because, you know what, as a forward, you make your own luck. Anything legal that it guns in off, even illegal, if it guns into the back of the net. I think I scored with a punch once, and it went in the back of the net. My hand was up, and that's a goal for me. So barring spells and what like that, the only thing I could say was just to keep on doing what you're doing, so that when you get the chance in a match, it's second nature. It comes naturally. The other thing I will say, you can't teach a player to score goals. Nobody's taught Isaac how to score goals. Nobody's taught Wilson how to score goals. You get born to score goals. You know, you can practice to be better at your technique and whatever, but you're born to score goals.
Interesting stuff. Good answer to the question, Joe. Thank you for that. And next one was from Gary. He's just making a point about what we made earlier. He says, as a club, when the takeover happened, we were really starting at a low base. Poor squad, poor youth system, poor revenue, club system that wasn't fit for purpose. But what's hampered us is not having assets that we could sell. The PSR system designed to stifle us. Is that the reason for us stalling in our progression? Would the sale of a big player kickstart the next stage? So it's an interesting one, Joe. You know, Aston Villa certainly did that with selling a big player. They managed to bring in 4 players who made a hell of a difference. And Aston Villa, I would say, have surpassed us, passed us, you know, in the race for, you know, those kind of European places. Certainly this season and last season, they seem to have done that. Do Newcastle maybe need to look at selling a big player if it comes to it in January to try and alter that kind of that PSR form that we're struggling to breach? You know, maybe sell a Bruno, maybe sell an Alexander Isak, maybe sell an Anthony Gordon, maybe sell, you know, a Harvey Barnes who came in still at a high price. Maybe sell somebody like that in January to try and help the PSR.
I will say I thought that Aston Villa had a decent squad to start with. And they had options in other positions that we didn't have, and we don't have at the minute. Like I said before, would there'd be an uproar if we sold Bruno? You know, I mean, if somebody come in, what you tell me, Steve, you're a fan. I mean, hey, listen, we're all managers and we're all coaches at the end of the day. Some people might not be qualified. I'm not qualified. I might have played the game, but you know what? Every one of the guys out there has got exactly the same opinion as me, you know, and that's what's beautiful about the beautiful game, you know, and it's great having opinions, but we all think we're managers and coaches. Is regarding what I would do, if you're asking us, I wouldn't be the selling club that we were renowned for years and years, which used to absolutely boil out of the stuff that we can't say. But why be used to have to sell the Chris Waddles, the Peter Bearsleys, the Paul Gascoignes, you know, the list is endless, and we go on and on about getting rid of our best players. Whereas if you're getting a replacement, are we going to get something? You know, I think Keegan said it for years and years, and I love Keegan's philosophy at times. And he's like me, old school, you know. And I'm not saying one breath that I'm in the same category as KK, the special one. But he used to say, don't sell players to buy a player that is not good enough for the player that you're selling. You need to be a better player coming in than the player that you're getting rid of, you know, and that was his philosophy. And I don't know where we're going to generate that cash. I mean, who else apart from Bruno and Gordon is going to command 100 million? That's the type of money that you're looking at. That's the type of money you're saying we need. If we're getting a centre forward, hey, what about a centre forward, by the way, in a different style? What about what about a Duncan Ferguson, right? There's got to be a Duncan Ferguson out there for Isaac to play off. Think about that. Just a thought. There's got to be a little rat out there, Craig Bellamy, who was horrible, right? Horrible Craig Bellamy. One thing he had, pace. 2 things he's got, nastiness. 3 things, he was brilliant. You know? That's what you want. You want somebody that's going to upset the apple cart. Get somebody that's a little bit different. Get somebody that can run like Craig used to in the channels. You know, turn them defenders around. Give them something to think about that's not just all in front of them. Because it's the easiest thing in the world for a centre-half to mark you. When the forward's got his back to goal, it's the hardest position in a football pitch. I'm not saying it because it was my position, but being your back to goal is the hardest position to play because you have to bring everybody into it, you know. And your Shearer's a 1 in a million, yeah. You know that because we're blessed to have Allon for so many seasons, and he's still our record goal scorer and a record goal scorer in the Premier League. But get a different type of player. Somebody that can work in a different formation, you know, bring in somebody like that because we're still very much, everybody knows the way we're going to play and everybody's criticising Eddie for it. I mean, I've got to just say while I'm on the subject, Steve, I was hearing rumours from the press. I don't know whether it's the newspapers or whether it's these pundits or whatever, but because Ten Hag's been sacked, I don't know if you're hearing the same things I'm hearing, Eddie's job's under threat. I mean, that gets us back to straight away about boiling that stuff we kind of talk about. You know, the fan is the fanatic. Our supporters are supporting Eddie. Yes, we're not pulling up trees. Remember 3 games ago, by the way, that if we'd won at Fulham, would have been top of the league. It might have been for 24 hours, we'd have been top of the league. And we're coming down the table because we haven't strung them results together yet. But hey, support. I know the Newcastle United faithful will be supporting Eddie Howe. And it's not his time of need. It's not like Ten Hag at Man United. This has been coming for Ten Hag for 2 years, bearing in mind, by the way, he's won 2 trophies. But this is Manchester United we're talking about, in everybody's eyes, the biggest club in the world. But at the same time, you know, at the end of the day, you've got your supporters will be there now to support Eddie through this. He's not looking over his shoulder. If we string, and this is the team that Eddie, the same team, the same squad that we've got, is the same ones that strung 4 and 5 results together the back end of last season after Paris Saint-Germain, and we were flying up the league. We're looking like we were up. This is the same group of people. So support the club, support Eddie. Let's get together. Let's not lose this game over 90 minutes tonight, and let's take it from there.
Great stuff, passionate stuff as always from Joe on the Joe Allon show, and more comments coming in. Davey says, "Aye, Joe, repetition, same as golf. The more you practice, the luckier and better you get." Johnny Green says, "Don't get me wrong, PSR has been a big issue, but it's an easy excuse that the club can use. We've signed 3 strikers since the takeover and still hampered by Wilson always being injured." Gary says he'd look at Mbuemo from Brentford, and Jopadini says, "Very true, Joe. We need someone to take the focus off Isaac." Get Gaiokaras in, says Dave, and Davey says, "I feel as we build resources, we may have to sell better players. Once we build those resources, we can get the best out of the star players for so many seasons before selling them on." Jopadine Donny says, "I think we need to see the wingers coming into the channel sometimes as 4-2-4 formation with the ball." And Dave says, "I feel the atmosphere is needed tonight. hit and miss if we get it lately. And AJ says, who would you make captain, Joe, as Bruno is not a leader in my opinion? And AJ, I've got to be honest, mate, I think it's weighing heavily on his shoulders, this captaincy. I would give it to Dan Burn, Joe. I don't know about you.
Well, obviously, I mean, you have to have somebody that's you've got leadership. I mean, Dan's got a passion because he's North East lad and he's centre off. And you know what? If we had 11 Dan Burns every week, we'd be all right. Do you know that? Because he wears his heart in his sleeve. He's often getting criticised, Dan Burns, but he'll never, ever get criticism off me. You know, you want 11 Dan Burns with you, with his attitude. And if Trippier, because I like Trippier as a captain, I like Trippier as the role that he gives as a captain. He might be the smallest person on the pitch, but I tell you what, he's got a heart as big as a lion, and Trippier is a leader as well. And he's great. When he's fit, give Trippier the captaincy. And why not give Dan Burn a shout? I'll go along with you, Steve. I haven't got a problem with that. But Bruno's form, I know players are allowed to have bad form. They really are, you know, lads. Because at the end of the day, you're only human. You can have bad spells. You can have things that you can have, you can have an argument with your missus. You know, people are human. You've got all sorts of things going on. At the end of the day, when they run out there, you don't know what's going on in their lives. So it could be not just the captaincy weighing on his shoulders. It could be a lot of things. It could be the transfer talk. That's, you know, when he's knocking about with the Brazilians in the national team and he's finding out that one of the players there, that's at Real Madrid, is on double the wages that he's on, and they played in the same Champions League last year against each other. You know, invariably, their heads get turned because players talk. You didn't go in the dressing room, you know, and you say, oh, what'd your last guy at House of Fraser at the weekend? Oh, we got there, that Prada jacket that was in a sale, I got 60 quid off. They turned around and gone, oh, no, I bought him a jumper for Christmas. It cost 600 quid. Oh, but you can afford it. You know, players talk. Players' wives talk. Players' wives, them get to find out who's on the wages before the players get to know. Trust us.
Stephen says, Joe, I love your passion, and some lovely words coming in for Joe today. And Jock Madoni says, what's happening to Wallsend boys? Where are our kids not coming from there anymore? Why are our kids, he should say, are not coming from there anymore? Red Youth boys as well. Yeah, the club don't have that kind of connection with the boys clubs anymore, which is sad. Football's changed massively doing that.
It was massive. It was massive, Steve. You know, you mentioned Red Youth, Gaza started there. You mentioned Wallsend, Allon, plus a host of others there. Obviously, I couldn't come out of this side, that side of the water because somebody had to beat them from the Tyne and Weir end. You know, like, and let's face it, it was a breeding ground, Wallsend Boys Club and Red Youth Boys Club, for great players. And the scouts that Newcastle United had in my day were all from them areas and them clubs, and they didn't mind getting on the bus or jumping in the car and getting a lift off somebody to go and watch a player and do the groundwork, do the spade work. You know, them diamonds are out there. I still see kids playing on the streets, and they're not all playing in PlayStations, you know, or getting them, what you call it. I mean, there's that many abbreviations for things that's going on now, you know, like, you know, that they've got, that's not a game of football. I mean, I love seeing the goalposts up nowadays that are gone. Back in nowadays, it was jumpers and all that carry on. But you know what? It was a breeding ground where football, you know, went on every single day. You know, you see play, like when we finished school, you'd be coming out and going to play straight away to play football. And nowadays, is the academy too early at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old? You know, a lot of players now didn't ever get there till the 14, 15, 16. In Gaz's case, and I've said it before, and I'll never be sick of saying, at 16, Paul Gascoigne was an ugly duckling. At 18, 19, he became the most beautiful swan I've ever seen in my life. Trust us. But at 16, he still had unbelievable ability, but he was not the finished article as Paul Gascoigne proved to be. You know, but them kids are out there. They didn't have to always get shoveled into academies and things like that. I want to see kids enjoy playing football. I want them to be playing football and enjoy it. Yes, get to a club. I mean, I always like to think that 14 was a great age because on and around that age, you used to see the ability that they had coming through and the fact that they could progress and get better that way by signing for a football club. You can sign for a football club now when you're a band. You know, the parents get offered substantial amounts of money and gifts and all that. Not in the back in Gazza's day when he got offered a sunbed for his sister because Terry Venables said, well, what's going to get you to sign for? It was a brilliant story that he always says. He got the house for his dad, he got the cars and all the rest of it. And then his sister said, well, what's gonna win? Well, my sister wants a sunbed, Terry. And he said, no, I want one of them Rolex watches, you know, like it's one of them. Back in them days, it was great fun. But, you know, let the players, let the kids especially enjoy the football. And yeah, it's important. It's important for them to learn the trade at the end of the day, but let them enjoy it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Jock Donny agrees with me. He says, I agree, Wraithy. Big Dan Burn will be a great captain. He's 9 foot tall, so you'd listen to him. Davey Eddy says, fellas, last November was a nightmare. Sometimes you just go through bad runs. This October has been awful. I hope that changes tonight. And Jota says, I, Joe, I live in North Seaton. There's loads of kids playing football, plenty of Ashton lads and lasses. But when her tie was knocked down and the new school was built, they did have some quality facilities. And Dave says, 2 football fields just by mine. One's gated off. The other one hasn't had the goals at the side padlocked together, so they can't use them. And that's true because kids nowadays are suffering because of the kids previously who probably broke into the school, smashed windows. You know, that just part and parcel of it. Because when I was a kid, you could go and find plenty of football pitches and school pitches to go and play on. And Gary, just going back to what we were saying earlier, he says, I don't see any attributes that would make Bruno a captain. He's a great player, but he is not a leader. And Davey Eddy says, when Shaw was outbanned, we got quite a bit of luck. Kraft was very good, to be fair. I would play Kraft tonight at centre-half. Shaw is becoming a bit inconsistent. I'd play Shaw. I would play Dan Burn alongside Lloyd Kelly. Give him a chance. He hasn't had a chance. And I'd play Kraft at right-back. Davey, that's where I would go. I put that out on X last night and I got absolutely hammered. But you know what? Kraft's still a Swiss international and somebody who can still play. He proved it when Shaw was out. So, you know, all about opinions. And that's what it's all about in football. Newcastle take on Chelsea tonight. This is the second meeting in a few days. 7:45 kickoff. It is live on Sky Sports. Just a reminder that match tickets will need to be downloaded via your ticket office account or the confirmation email that was sent out by the club. Given the dubious internet coverage in the vicinity of St James's Park, I would advise that you do that now and not when you get to the game. A result must be achieved tonight. If the score is tied after 90 minutes, a penalty shootout will ensue, so no extra time. The stake is at place in the quarterfinals, scheduled for week commencing Monday, December the 16th, and the draw will be staged after the Spurs versus Manchester City game tonight. Chelsea have sold their away ticket allocation, 4,883 tickets gone. Great support that from Chelsea. Well played to them for that. And don't forget as well, the club shop is opening today. It'll be opening in about 10 minutes for those of you who've got Mags Plus membership. 2 till 4 you can get in from, and then it will be open for the rest of the evening. Eddie Howe in his press conference yesterday played down the groin strain that Anthony Gordon suffered in training on Saturday and said that there is a chance that he could feature tonight. Kieran Trippier, Sven Botman, Jamal Lascelles, Karen Wilson are all still out. No update as yet on Matt Target or Martin Dubravka. Joe Linton and Dan Burn still remain one booking away from an automatic one-match ban, but don't forget that any yellow cards received in tonight's game won't count towards the Premier League suspension. So the only thing that could change that, of course, is if there's a red card for either of those players tonight. And the referee, well, there is a referee tonight. There's no VAR, though. Chris Kavanagh will take charge of his second Newcastle game this season. He was in charge of the 2-1 win at Wolves. And no VAR, despite both teams being from the Premier League and both having VAR at their disposals at their grounds. No VAR in this game. So, Joe, battle again of your two teams. I went for a 1-1 draw against Chelsea away from home. It wasn't right. We got beat 2-1. Tonight, I'm going to go for a Newcastle getting through by the means of a penalty shootout. And that will do us, which was what your opening gambit was on the show tonight. It doesn't matter how we get through.
Yeah.
We've got to get through, and getting into the last 8 and getting another home draw would be great. But I'm going to say it's a penalty shootout tonight. Joe, what do you reckon?
Well, of course, Chelsea, because of the riches that they've got, you know, they've got an unbelievable squad. I mean, it goes to show that 7 of the players that were left behind that started the game on Sunday didn't even get on the plane to go to Greece when they played Panathinaikos. So Chelsea will probably play a total different 11, because I don't think that the League Cup's on their peripheral. If they're playing in Europe, where you get more riches than what you do in the League Cup these days, I think he set his stall out about what sort of team Maresca is going to play. For Eddie, like I said before, and he takes the cup seriously, play your strongest side, Eddie. And yes, I agree with you, Steve. Win, but win at all costs. And I'm not on about being stupid and getting players sent off. I'm on about that thing, right? That 3 inches under your left bosom, right? Your heart. Get out there with the guile, the passion, the integrity, right? Get that brilliant crowd behind you and come off just getting into the next round by hook or by crook. Be in the hat. Newcastle to win. Thank you.
Enjoy the game, Joe. See you next week, pal.
Cheers, Steve. Thank you.